everybody, Tyler Edlin here, and so this year what I'm going to do is lay out a spread of all the personal work, or most of the personal work that I completed in 2018. In the first part, I'm just going to go over each and every one of them, kind of reviewing them in a sort of way. Then I'm going to talk about my personal growth in numbers, my social medias, and then post the top 3 YouTube videos, Instagram posts, and ArtStation posts that I had in those categories as, you guys, the community, kind of voted for, with your likes and your comments and everything. So again, this is just for my, more or less personal use, but some of you out there may find this sort of thing interesting. So let's go. Alright, so now I'm going to be going through all my work, my personal works from 2018. So they're about 26 in total, I think. I'm not sure if it's my best year, not sure if it's my worst year. I've never really done this before. So I'm going to give a little bit of a brief background or introduction to each piece. I'll basically kind of critique it. I'll say if I don't like something, or if I like how it turned out, if I would have, retrospect, done things a little bit different. Perhaps how long it even took. I'll give you some context into it. Yeah, so let's just jump right in, starting with some of my January images. These are in the order that I completed them from left to right throughout the year. Hopefully this is high enough resolution that everybody can kind of see what's going on. So I believe it was in last January. Started off with the these heads and in the desert, and I like it. I like how it came out. It was originally just a brief exercise in trying to integrate some use of 3D into my current style that I was building, which is a little bit more of a simple shape, a bit more colorful, a little bit an organizational use of texture. So I was really just practicing my fundamentals, and I thought I'd craft up a few images to do that, and here was such one of those. I actually think there was a few that I didn't post. They just weren't finished, or some images did get lost in translation, but yeah, these are ones that I do have. I like how it came out for the most part. I did have some 3D in the heads, some Cinema 4D that I used to help build this, and I tried to keep everything pretty simple. If I had to do anything over, in this image, I guess it would be the sky. I like the sky, but I'm also not in love with it. So yeah, I would probably slightly change the clouds up. I think I'd maybe even have them coming in a little bit more like that, rather than I think it would help the balance a little bit better. I don't know, what do you guys think on that one? Well, let's just go through, we'll call that number 1, in case anybody has any comments. And you can refer specifically back to the numbers. So here is 2. This is a little exercise, just kind of exploring some of the world I was building. Again, trying to push and emphasize style, simplicity, bold use of shapes. There's some things I like about it, some things I don't like so much about it. I kind of like a lot of this area here. I like the distant kind of moon shape in the background, but in all honesty, what I'm not feeling at this point is I'm just not feeling this. I'm not really feeling that either. I'd actually probably remove those all together, or in a way kind of combine them maybe into one. I like the negative space that creates, but I don't know, I'd probably at some point probably combine that into a singular piece. I don't know. It's one of those pieces, again, I didn't necessarily plan all in. I really didn't have a sketch. I just dove in, and that's how some images go sometimes. But yeah, I don't like some of those. I do like how the lighting and the texture and the shapes work overall, but not. I'm just not feeling some of that. I wouldn't say it's worth revisiting, but if I would just do another concept from scratch on that same idea or theme. Now, actually, this technically is not a personal piece. This is a private commission, and I included it because I don't take many of them. I'm very selective with those. There was a few of them. There was this one. This one would be number 5. That was also it wasn't really a private commission. It's a repurposed commission, and then one of them way at the end. This one here. So those are the ones that are technically not personal, but they're private commissions. But they didn't kind of fall along the line of my traditional commercial work, so I decided to include them. I like this piece a lot. This is, I guess, a good example of what it looks like where I put 20 hours, maybe 25 hours into an image versus perhaps like the 5 or 6 that are in most of these. Most of these took me around 5 or 6 hours on average. They're pretty quick, they're pretty simple. But again, here's a fine example of what an image looks like when I do commit a longer time. Of course, it's a more complex image, the subject matter. But again, this is one I built a 3D model from. I overpainted it, tried to make everything look cohesive. But it was a lot of fun, and I generally, typically, absolutely love doing those sort of images, even if they're vertically, when I typically don't work vertically, just because I do like the wider format out of preference only. This was a fun little example I did of, again, continuing my personal works. I'm trying to push and develop my style more. I don't think that ever really ends, but I'm trying to find a balance of a right amount of like simplicity in the overall shapes and structure versus how much textural details I'm putting and how much painterly aesthetics do I want to put. And I'm trying to find a nice happy mix. I particularly like the finish on the water. I went back and I retconned the trees a few times since I believe it was January, February. I pushed these out, but honestly, right now I'm quite happy with what this is. Again, this is not an image I don't think it typically needs a character. A character right here, something wouldn't kill it, but it doesn't need it, so I didn't include it. This is an interesting one, a little bit more of a story than my previous ones, in that it was originally a book cover in that sort of format, without any kind of snow, with a completely different sky and everything, but I completely just repurposed it to make it my own personal piece, because I had a bit of a different vision for it entirely than what my the art director for the cover did. If I can find an actual cover for the book, I will upload it on screen now, but it would look like that. And you can observe just the differences on there. This was a series of images I created leading up to the image I made. And again, I didn't even include here for some reason. It did in the YouTube video about painting the sky, where I was showing how to paint clouds. So this is, I think, takes us to about March, right? So we'll call these 6, 7, and 8. And it was fun. I had a one-on-one photo reference on some of those, and I was just trying, again, pushing stylizations and simplicity, making sure the rendering is up to par with those, as I kind of work on them. And then as I try to render something like clouds, which I'm not confident with my clouds more often than not. Whether you guys can believe that or not, I'm really never confident with my clouds. But again, I was trying to practice that, trying to make them feel like giant, soft, floating marshmallows in the sky, and I had a lot of fun with that. I think there's a time lapse up on the YouTube with this one down here. But it was good fun. I believe I did the top 1 or 2 for demos in my classes. My first character of the year, and again, this is a fan art piece. I have a few fan art pieces this year, and now when I do fan art, I'm not drawing the character as they typically look. I'm doing my interpretation of the character. I've changed a lot in the design. We're pushing things toward my style as I was figuring out a consistent way to develop my characters. And again, that took about 6 hours to do compared to this my old way of doing characters, which I would render up the materials and details so high they often took about 20 hours. So I'm really, this year, as I've discovered, that I'm managing like a toddler, my time is getting less and less. I'm trying to streamline my techniques and my process so I can just pump my ideas out in a quicker sort of way. Here was a quasi-fan art. I'll call it that because it never really started off as such, but and I refer to Breath of the Wild, Zelda, of course. I wanted to just do a majestic sort of canyon piece with nice shapes, but I ultimately just stuck Link and a horse on it, just for fun. So is that fan art? Maybe, maybe not. There's a gray blurry line there. but I like it. I generally like how it was. Those trees were absolutely dreadful for me to paint. Never had so much of a trouble before painting this group of trees, and I changed them a few times throughout the process. But overall, I'm happy with this image. I like the shapes, I like the colors, I like the textures. Yeah, that's one of the, probably one of the few images I'm really 100% satisfied with how it came out. Alright, so here we have a picture of Archimedo Bay. I was doing some exploration sketches. I ultimately colored this one up. I love doing bright, colorful beach scenes like this. Absolutely love tropical stuff. To practice water, transparencies, different sand and shapes. And it also served as a conceptual exploration, again, for this personal idea and location I had. So, and when I do some of these personal pieces, such as this, they are serving many purposes. Yeah, I'm more or less satisfied. The rocks in the back aren't my favorite, but I can live with them. I'm not sure what else I would really change on this one in retrospect, but yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I hope to do a lot more. I kind of don't like, I don't like this little rocky area, I guess. I'm fine with the other ones, but again, I went back and forth with that one a few times. I couldn't get it the way I liked on the first pass. 11, that would make this 12. Simple little swamp scene. I've done a number of swamps over my career, and this one was 100% personal. I ended up recording it. I'm not sure if I ever did anything with it. Maybe it'll show up on here, the YouTube channel someday, but yeah, it was a fun, again, comfort food sort of sketches, and I tend to do a lot of these in between my semesters at classes, or I'll pre-record them for demonstration purposes. But it's a fun, simple image. I wasn't really, it's nothing I was really committed or attached to, but again, just something fun and simple. So that would bring us to 13, which is this, which is more ruins for the Archimedo Bay. That is kind of a side area off of this. Again, I love ruins. I love submerged things. I love. Again, I've never painted. I rarely paint a top-down angle like this, and I tried to. That was the prompt for the image. I just wanted to do an angle like that, so I decided to do ruins and to show depth. And of course play up the different colors, and it was just a lot of fun overall to put that together. I don't really have any. I really wouldn't change anything. I'm actually pretty content with that one as well. But yeah, it was a good fun image. Again, I was practicing using a 3D base, and of course, tying that in so my work can look consistent and cohesive. Now here's a little guy I conceptualized for a series of images that we'll see next. It was all personal work for the book Encounters with the Imaginary, and again a second character this year. I believe his name was Fanart, and he's just a little guy that explores the forests. Again, a fun little exploration. A little guy, again, trying to try different techniques, unify style for quite a different character, but yeah, a lot of fun with him. And then you'll see him. This is number 15, in which he will appear here. And yeah, that was a fun, certainly a challenging illustration. I don't do a ton of creatures, so it was a lot of fun to get in there and try to work and sort that out. And I did have I wish I could say it was easy, and I did have a great deal of challenge of balancing out the colors, the readability, the scale. It was just a very challenging image for me. I'm more or less at this point content with how it looks. I'd really need someone that is far better in the subject matter, I think, to give their feedback on it for me. And I'm at that personal plateau with it where I don't know what to change on it or what I would change on it. But yeah, I guess for now I'm fine with I'm fine with it as it is until someone opens my eyes other ways. And so next up, as for this one, number 18, this was done for a few class demos a few terms ago. This was fun. One way to constantly try to grow and improve your skills is to drastically switch things up. So I worked in a very unconventional color palette for myself. You know, nothing too natural, with deep indigos, purples and blues, kind of contrasting each other, and of course, a very cyber techy sort of subject matter. A genre I love, but don't nearly paint as often as I wish I had time to. So again, I was just kind of testing myself out, and I made a bit of an homage to myself being a fan of the Sega culture of the 90s, the early to mid 90s, and it was fun. I loved it. I made lots of references to a lot of my favorite games from the era, and I just had generally a lot of fun with it. Of course, something so vast and complex, my strategy and goal with it was to constantly maintain a sense of simplicity. I would certainly love to do more images that are fairly similar, not just like Sega images, but images in a kind of cyberpunk sort of world. So hopefully this upcoming year, I will have time to do that. And while on that note, number 19 is a bit of a fan piece for the game Shenmue. I was just playing it, for the first time since it released, maybe like in 2001 when it was remastered. I loved it. And I was taking one of the final scenes, and I just wanted to do my take on it. Again, switching up, I wanted to do a kind of an early evening sort of low horizon lighting, where it's pretty atmospheric, where it's fairly neutral scene, overcast. They're hard to do, and the other challenges was, of course, painting wet asphalt and kind of bringing everything together. It's a rather contemporary scene on a boat and a dock. Again, a genre and subject matter I don't paint a whole lot of, but I generally enjoy the whole process. I like how it came out overall. I would probably slightly lower this bike. It's like a little bit too high. I did map everything out in 3D to kind of gauge the spacing and the scale of things, but I just think it would look a little bit better, a little lower. But yeah, I battled a lot of things in that, again, maintaining simplicity through and through. But yeah, I like how it came out. Next up came another sequence of images from the Encounters with the Imaginary. Call this 20. Right, this is a lot of fun. Maybe my second most challenging image of the year, but right next to, or maybe it was my most challenging, right next to these two back to back. They had so many creatures, such kind of crazy lighting, and again, it was you can see my little guys right down there. It was a real challenge to kind of, I had to design each and every little creature, to design the lighting. It was a lot of work, something I certainly spent a little bit longer on than the average image that I worked on this year, but I generally loved the whole process. And on my tight schedule, it's something I wish I could deeply paint a whole lot more of, to flesh out this world, to flesh out this setting and the story. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's like a little monster caravan. The guy's loading it up. He's trading with these guys over here. And again, these are all peaceful creatures in this very exotic location. Number 21. Right? Same deal. Same character. It's deeper in the narrative. Is exploring these, I don't know how to, I wrote a 2-page treatment on the matter, but I'm not going to get into that now, narrative-wise. But yeah, it's kind of painting this alien, kind of Nausicaa-like inspired forest with some very evident otherworldly elements to it. I can have the contrasting oranges and all the greens. This is a challenging image. I had to design the trees, these spores, this object in the middle, and then balance out all the shapes, and the readability on this again was a huge challenge. But I'm satisfied with how it came out. If I revisited that same area, I may change a few things, but for the most part, I'm kind of content with it. This was the last, I believe, in that little series for Encounters of the Imaginary, number 22. This one actually went very quick and straightforward to me. Glimpses of it appeared in an earlier video I did on brushwork, and it's kind of like the final version. I have a quasi little placeholder of a character. Not 100% satisfied with how he turned out, but yeah, it was just I love kind of exploring the alien sort of sci-fi fantasy landscapes. Nothing I really don't get to stretch out creatively enough. A lot of the client work I do is very kind of standard and traditional fantasy, in rare cases sci-fi stuff, but I like kind of blending everything and going crazy and having fun like that image. So it came pretty easy to me, despite being such kind of like a drastically different scene than I normally typically paint. So again, let's say 23 and 24. This was just some quick building designs I did for class, and they ultimately were conceptualizing the architecture in this book cover that I did, which again was a private commission, but I had a lot of fun painting that. Again, that's very comfort zone. If it's a city up in the sky, if it's a city on some kind of lush green sort of landscape, a very establishing shot zoomed out, that's my comfort stuff. I generally enjoy that, and it's fairly stress-free, and it's just something I typically always kind of fall back on, and I enjoy it through and through. The trick is, of course, for me to branch out, do close-up shots, do different subject matters, because that's almost like my default at this point. And I'm happy with how it turned out. The client seemed very pleased, and yeah, I don't really have much to say. I used a bit of a 3D base, kind of painted everything else by scratch, but yeah, it was very streamlined, very quick. Now this was number 24? I think I lost count. Yeah, I have 221s. This is 25, I believe. I draw, I can't count. Just some quick fan art. This actually isn't the finished version. I do have a bit of a updated version that I think was on my Instagram. But again, this is a fan piece to another game that I finished this year, Owlboy. It's a very quick game and a very awesome game. I loved it. It took place up in the sky, of course. It was old 2D sky. And this was like a demo that you guys, some of you will see in order. That's be a video released in a week or two where I paint and demonstrate sunsets. So it's served again two purposes. I was trying to make a little rule for myself for all the games that I play. I at least had to do some sort of piece inspired by it. That wasn't. I didn't follow through entirely this year, but it's something I constantly keep an effort at. Because on that note, this was also with that video demonstration that I'm going to do, and this was for Red Dead Redemption 2. Very cool game, a nice game that I enjoyed this year, and again, I was just practicing sunsets. The landscape, the characters are very much supporting actors and subjects to kind of showcase the sky. This, as some of you saw, was the demo I did for the XP Pen tablet. Yeah, very quick one, a very almost kind of plein air style image, and then some just some XP stuff that I did in there for them, because they were nice enough to send me the tablet. So I enjoyed that whole process, and it was fun again to keep it simple and to push style. Last but not least, number 28. A nice little image I did for the BST challenge that I mean, technically didn't enter, but I did it in the same spirit. A lot of fun. Adam Duff, of course, had some great feedback for me. I'm currently revising that now, so before that makes it on an art station or anything else, that is the next priority in order. But I love it. I love these winter scenes. Forests are another very kind of comfort food thing for me. The safe zone. Again, I kind of overcrowded this, so I'm going to change that. Gonna remove probably a tree here. I'm on the wrong layer, so I can't draw on this, but I'm gonna remove a couple trees, darken and simplify some of the stuff even further. I already did this once, but even further behind these characters for increased readability. So yeah, I'm gonna simplify this. I'm gonna remove different elements from the scene, just strip it down to its core. But anyways, guys, this was my overall little assessment on the personal images I did this year. I mean, I think right here it counts to 28. I know I missed one or two that are buried in folders and stuff. So I'd say probably closer to 30 private or personal images this year, which I'm content with. We'll see what I do this upcoming year. I want to keep challenging myself at different genres. I want to paint sequences of images like I did this year with characters that I design and develop spanning multiple images. And yeah, so that's some of my personal goals, I guess, with my art this upcoming year. Next, I'm going to just talk about a little bit of my statistics and growths that I've been charting for the social medias. All right, and so in this next segment, I'm just going to kind of measure out my progress and growth across the major social platforms I use. I also use Facebook very regularly and post art there, but the growth was so small. I'm talking like less than 3%, maybe 3 or 5%. It's not even just, it's not worth talking about it. That definitely seems it's like the EA route of the social medias. You gotta pay for wins. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Facebook just very incremental growth. It's on the decline for me. And I'm not doing this to kind of brag about my numbers or anything. This is a personal thing for me. I can look back next year at this time, see what my numbers were, reflect on them, see how many posts I had. And I don't think it's bad inherently to kind of just track and measure your own growth. All right, so ArtStation, here's my numbers. 2017, two years ago from now, I was just at 1640, and then at the start of 2018, I had a nice jump, up to 2,925. That was a nice 78% increase. Again, I'm finding that ArtStation is kind of in that nice kind of snowball effect, like it's constantly growing, because in 2019 the amount of posts basically doubled, and I'm up 113%. And just because it's easy to show that sort of progress and growth with the posts, I'm just going to do that for here. So I believe it started right here with that one. So how many posts was that? That's 1 2 3 4 5, that's 6 by, that's 24 new posts that I did to get that growth. Some of them are older images that I went back and touched up. Some are kind of client images that I brought in. And yeah, so it was 24 posts overall that this year. So that's not bad. And so that's what it took me to get to those sort of numbers. Instagram, it would be way too hard for me to kind of measure exactly how many. I'm sure there's apps out there and stuff that you kind of do all this behind the scenes and automatically for you. Like, I'm not that sophisticated with this stuff, so I'm doing it like an old school bookkeeping way. All right, Instagram, 2017, I was just using it maybe for a year or two. I think it was 2 years. I think I started in 2015. I was up to 1309. Now, that was such a struggle. I was posting almost every day to get up to that high. And then, 2018, I was at just 2066. That's only like, that's like 700 new followers for that year. Oh, that was a tough one, I would say. And then this number, of course, doubled and then some, up to 126% in 2019. Again, this is a very similar trend, that the numbers are kind of increasing almost by the same amount. That snowball effect. This is, I guess, would be ideal. So hopefully, we'll see next upcoming year if I'm able to consistently post in these two mediums, that I can continue to get these numbers to kind of be around that same amount of growth. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I'm again, this is just to show anybody it is a big struggle, for me to grow my audiences. And so here's just some of the posts that I made this year. I'm not going to, of course, show them all. There's a lot more sketch stuff, and again, this is the type of stuff I didn't also really include with my stuff that I did this year. It's just kind of sketches. I tried to only post finished work. I do once in a while a personal photo, and I do share my student stuff to promote my classes. But yeah, I try to make a post or two every week. So again, I do the math that out. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I still think quality over quantity will always kind of trump things. But I would be certainly interested to see what your experiences has and what's kind of worked really, really well for you. I remember in 2017 maybe I was posting lots of works in progress, but I didn't really feel that was growing things the way I did, so I kind of pulled back on that and just show process breakdowns with a quality finished image. And from at least the artists that I study, that seems to work best. YouTube, it's always been about 5,000 or so subscribers I would get a year, up to 2017, because if I divide that out, I've had it for 5 or 6 years now. That would be about that. And then 2018, see, right about that 5,000. It was very consistent, but I did manage to double the growth in regards to that. 10,000 to 12,000 subs on the YouTube. Now, just to break down my goals and what I do with YouTube, my goal is never to just hey, I have to post a video a month or 2 videos a month or 1 video a week. Some people's genuine goal is just to grow their YouTube audience. Mine isn't. I just kind of produce content when I have the time to. I don't take this wrong. I don't break my back to produce that stuff, because I really realized in I think 2017 or 18 I was trying to do a video or 2 a week. It was just eating way too much into my personal painting time. And so I decided in 2018 to focus on those personal paintings that I talked about earlier, and I was really happy with that. Now when I have a topic to cover or an episode to do, yeah, I'll make a video, but it's nothing I'm trying to inherently force out. So I don't have certain goals or aspirations with the YouTube growth or anything. It's just fun to kind of look at the metrics of that. Last but not least, in this end of the year self-assessment, I'll talk about my most popular images as voted by you guys, the publics and community on my platform. So ArtStation, these are the only 3 images I produced that managed to break the 400 mark for likes, with this being the standout at about 700. And I have no why. It's kind of something I threw together using parallaxing layers. It's an odd choice. This I do like this. I can see how this one got about, it was 430 and this was at about 402. Again, I did put a sincere amount of effort into this, but people just, I guess, like a nice, simple, tranquil scene. I don't know. It's nothing I put my whole heart and soul into. It was just, I would say, a competently done landscape. But anyways, you guys seem to like it a lot. Now on Instagram, these are my most popular posts. My average post usually gets around 300 to 400, so you can kind of see these guys really did skyrocket far above my average. Yeah, so it's a nice, it's quite a mixed bag actually, and I think this is interesting, as this is like a brand new image I did. This is an image I did 5 years ago and posted, and this are just 2 sketches. So they couldn't almost be so different from each other. And again, I'm not using this like, oh, this is what my audience likes, so I'm going to do more of this. No, I don't really pander to the crowd. I do what I'm going to do. But it's interesting to see what does well versus what doesn't do as well. None of these, I would say, are like my particular favorite images or posts from this year. Not by a mile, but it seems what the audience, has liked. Now, in regards to my YouTube videos, this was the most popular 3. Does your digital brushwork suck? How to paint clouds, and improve your paint strokes by design. So 2 of these are kind of technique based. This is more of a discussion one, because by gosh, people were not afraid to let me know what was up on that one. There is some hilarious comments on that if anyone are interested to check it out. But yeah, these were by and far a lot more popular than my other videos, where they kind of average about 2,000 views a piece. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to continue to try to do more discussion videos. Would you guys like to see more discussion videos, or where I maybe talk about a few more controversial topics? And of course, I'm always going to paint more technique videos. These always seem to do well when I take the time to do them well. But it's funny, yeah, 2 of the videos were basically about finishing and polishing work. It seems that's what people have a lot of trouble with. But a lot of my videos, ultimately, as some of you know, do talk about structure. I think structure is definitely more important than a lot of the finishing things, but this is where the interest was this year. So for those of you that took this little recap with me, thank you for watching. Please do subscribe if you enjoy my content, and let me know if you have any questions or input on anything that I talked about tonight. And take care, guys. Thank you for checking out my video. You can support the channel if you'd like by subscribing, liking, or commenting on my videos. You can find me on the web on Facebook, ArtStation, and Instagram. Those are the social media outlets I utilize. I also teach 2 courses at the Computer Graphics Masters Academy, Architecture Design and the Fundamentals of Design. Feel free to check those out. Now, if the classes aren't for you, I also teach one-on-one. Join the hundreds of students around the world for one-on-one learning, and for more info, just send me an email. Also, feel free to join the Brush Sauce Discord community. There's links below. It's fun. We do weekly hangouts. There's the challenges, and it's a great place to make friends. Take care.